Hi guys, welcome back to Zoo School Live. Before we get started, I just want to shout out to all of you viewers for staying so patient. That storm hit us pretty hard, so getting all of our connectivity issues in place has been a little bit of a struggle, so we really appreciate you staying patient with us and continuing to view our Zoo School Live episodes. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it on over to Keeper Amy, who's going to tell you all about Joni, our Chacon Peccary.
Hi guys, thanks for joining us this morning. I'm here with Joni. She's our Chacon Peccary, and peccaries are a relative of the pig. They're not quite the same as the pigs you see in petting zoos or the wild hogs and boars in European countries. They're a separate family of pig-like creatures, and there are three species. There is the collared peccary that is sometimes known as the javelina. There's the white-lipped peccary, and then there's the Chacon Peccary, which is Joni. And they are the largest species of peccary. The main difference between them and pigs is how their tusks look. In European and African pig species, the tusks sort of splay sideways against each other. For peccaries, the tusks are actually vertical canines, so they almost look like giant fangs. And those are very good for slicing through roots and cacti. In the wild, they actually come from a place called Gran Chaco, which is how they got their name. And that is a very arid, thorny region of South America in Bolivia, Paraguay, and Argentina. So there's not a lot of rainfall there. So they have a few really cool adaptations that help them live in such a dry region. They have first very well developed sinuses so that they can deal with all of the dryness and not suffer for it. They consume a lot of succulent plants that are there, and that's how they actually get most of their, oh my goodness, hello, you're fine. That's actually how they get most of their hydration. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, it's too close. Joni is 19 years old. Her birthday is April 7th. In the wild, these guys, their average lifespan is actually about 9 years old. So her being 19, she is a geriatric old lady. And she is sort of living out her retirement here. The oldest ones in captivity at the moment are 21. So she's getting up there, she's giving them a run for their money. So you see her run away. They are very skittish animals. Despite their big teeth, their best defense is to run. And where they live is a very thorny undergrowth kind of place. They have very teeny tiny hooves, and I would not be surprised if her entire foot could probably fit on a quarter or a $50 coin. But they live in herds of 10 to 20, and it's very dense and very thorny, so not a good place for eyesight. So they actually have very poor eyesight and small eyes. And what they do when they run is they puff up, to look a little bit scarier. So all that hair that is very coarse stands on end. And we've actually had people compare them to porcupines before. They're not quills, it's just really coarse hair that they can stand up. And then also as they're running, they actually have a big scent gland on their back. So they are sort of spewing their smell as they're going. And it's not necessarily to deter predators, although it is pungent, has been described as pungent. And has given them a nickname of skunk hog, but they mostly use it to sort of keep in contact with each other as they are fleeing so that they can keep the group together. At the zoo, we've also seen Joni rub that gland against trees, against the wall, and they use it as a little bit of scent marking in the space. As she comes close, so because she's skittish, being skittish is what keeps peccaries alive in the wild, so that's sort of just a natural component of her personality. She definitely knows that she's safe here, although this is a little bit of a new situation for her because she doesn't usually have this many people up close to the fence saying hello, but she is being very brave today, and I'm very proud of her. But as she's coming closer, as she's maybe making her escape, as she does, and then coming back, you might hear a few small noises. She does that big blow through her nose, and that nose is very pig-like. That's probably the biggest similarity between them and pigs. She'll make that big blow through her nose. Sometimes she will snort just a little bit, kind of like that low pig grunting noise, as she's sort of like conversant. Yeah, it's a little bit right there. It's very quiet. And then the biggest thing that they also can do when they feel threatened is they can clap their jaws together, and that makes a big, scary noise. And in the herds that they live in, a whole bunch of them making that noise at maybe a cougar or a jaguar would be very intimidating and might help to chase them off as well. So in the wild, they're going to be eating, besides succulents, they will eat cacti. They actually eat various species, especially prickly pear. And they use that tough nose of theirs to sort of roll the cactus pads on the ground to help remove the spines. And then that way it makes it safe for them to eat it and chew it. But they also will do a rooting behavior just like pigs. They'll dig under the ground to find roots and tubers that they can eat. And they will also eat flowers, especially cactus flowers, and whatever fruit that they come upon, and seeds, obviously, because those are very high in nutrition and they're only available sometimes because that's how seasons work. She will also use that, so actually, to capitalize on that behavior and help her behave in ways that she would in the wild, a lot of the times we'll put food in things she has to roll or in things she has to flip over. So we do have a couple of balls in the exhibit that did have food in them, so she would have had to use her nose to roll those balls around and get the food out of them. She will also just dig in the ground for herself, whether there's food out there or not. Usually it's to help her build a wallow, which is basically just a muddy puddle in the ground, or else just getting to where the ground is a little bit cooler, and she'll hang out in that space for a while. Especially in the warmer weather, she will make a nice little hollow in the ground to cool off. And that serves two purposes. One is to cool off, and the other is to help keep parasites and flies away, because they have a nice muddy coating that's not super tasty. So the Grand Chaco, where they are located, is a very isolated place and very hard to get through because of all that thorny scrubland that they are a part of. So scientists actually discovered these guys first by their bones in the 30s and thought that it was an extinct species. They were not actually discovered to be alive and well until the 70s. Of course, the indigenous people had already been quite aware of their presence by living in the same space as them, but they were not known to science until the 70s. However, they are endangered, so the space that they're in, being as isolated as it is very sensitive to human activities, especially urbanization. There's a lot of cattle ranching going on, so that is sort of clearing out the habitat and making it into a ranch space. There is roads being built, so that's sort of sectioning up the space so that they're also having to contend with cars, as well as their territories being opened. Oh my goodness! And actually, right there in the middle, there's like a little cowlick. Every time she runs away, there's like a little cowlick when she's all puffed up on her rump, and that cowlick is actually that big scent gland. And besides cattle ranching and road construction, they are also victims of overhunting. Like other swine-like species, they are hunted for their meat, and there is a bit too much of that happening despite restrictions that have been set for them. So now there are only about 3,000 in the world, which is why it's important for them to be in zoos, and why we are so privileged to have Joni here with us. Joan is not a part of the breeding program, but various zoos do have them so that we can continue to grow the population. And the reason that Joan is not a part of that breeding population is that she actually has mammary cancer. She was diagnosed with her cancer in 2014, and she's actually been on chemotherapy in the form of pills since that time. And she takes it like a champ. She's very good about it. And for animals, so for people, we're pretty aware that chemotherapy makes you feel really not good. So we have some various other medications she's taking to help combat the side effects, but also we're treating her for her quality of life. We are treating so that she feels good. So not necessarily to cure, but treating her enough that as long as she continues to feel good and act normally and eat her food and just be a happy little pig, that is what we are looking for with her. We just want her to be living a comfortable life. So she takes all her meds super great, but we do have to obviously hide them in some food. So she gets some extra treats like banana and apple, which is what she's eating right now for us to hide her meds in. All right, we are ready for some questions. Yes, Kevin, they are an endangered species. Megan wants to know, is she the only peccary at Elmwood Park Zoo? Yes, unfortunately she is. She had a buddy named George, and unfortunately George, who was also 19 last year, did pass away due to complications related to old age. So at the moment she is a solo pig. She is a retired old lady, so far she's doing okay, but we are in contact with the stud bookkeepers so that we can hopefully get her another buddy, because we don't want her to be alone any more than she does. Liam and Ronan want to know what their predators are. That's a great question. In the wild, their predators are jaguars and pumas, maybe caimans, and especially people. As we mentioned, they are hunted for their meat. Brooke wants to know what kind of habitats they live in. So the Grand Chaco does have some variation, but mostly it is a dry, thorny scrubland. So it's dense with very thorny and cactus plants, but extremely dry. There might be some trees, but not a lot. So very dry, very thorny, and very pokey for them. Kara wants to know if Joni has a favorite snack. She does. She loves melon, and when we train her, she will come over and work for her apple and pear as well, so she's very good at that. RJ wants to know how good her sense of smell is. I haven't tested it, but she is especially good. Anytime that we hide her food, she always finds it. She never leaves it, no matter how good we hide it. There's actually a large piece of paper in the back of her exhibit, so sometimes we will, when we get a paper donation, we'll wrap it up like a present real tight and then give it to her, and she will usually find a way to open that paper or roll it around as she does with her snout and get all of the pieces out, even though she definitely can't see that it's in there. Sophia wants to know if she could survive in the wild at this age. Probably not, unfortunately. Besides the cancer that she does have, because if she was in the wild, she would not be receiving treatment for her cancer. She is also very old, and that would probably make her the slowest in her herd, were she to be a part of a herd, and also the most sensitive to illness in general. So that would make her the most likely to be caught by a predator or to have an unfortunate interaction with the humans that are in her space. Is she spiky or soft? That is a fun question. I have never touched them except when they are unconscious, because they are not big fans of being pet. However, their hair is very, very coarse. So I wouldn't say spiky, but I wouldn't say soft either. Her hair is a little bit more sparse, because when she did first start on the chemotherapy, she was losing a little bit of hair. She has since stopped doing that. She is not bald, as you can see, but she has a little bit of a cowlick on top of her head. So it is a little bit thin and very coarse. It's very thick hair, and that helps them to be able to stand it up on end the way that they do. Does she like to roll in the mud like pigs? Yes, she absolutely does, and you'll see that with a lot of animals that exist in a hot environment, especially hoofstock animals, that they will find or dig a nice muddy pit and they will wallow in it to help them cool off in the hot weather. Other toys that we've given to Joni in the past have included also, we've given her a vat of water and put all of her food in it to float. Hi, Mama. And she'll go bobbing for apples, and she's actually stuck her whole face in the water and blown bubbles, and it has been very cute. Laura wants to know, does Joni have a favorite zookeeper? Well, I would hope that it was me, because I am her trainer, but I don't think she looks at me with particularly any more benevolence than any other keeper. We did used to have a keeper that I think she really loved, who was Danny, who has moved to El Paso Zoo and is now working with some different peccaries. So we miss you, Danny. The food that she eats here at the zoo is not quite what she would eat in the wild because we don't have access to cacti, but what they eat in the wild besides cacti would include roots. So we have some nice root vegetables right here. We use golden beets. We try to stay away from red beets because when red beets come back out, or when red beets sit on something, they make a red stain. And then that makes a zookeeper concerned when they see red marks on things. So we try to use golden beets whenever we use beets. We have some grain for her that will make up for any of the vitamins and nutrients that would not otherwise be found in her produce. She gets some fruit, as we said. And in the wild, they would be eating grasses and greens, so she gets a variety of lettuces as well. So she gets all of that just sort of throughout the day. And she enjoys it pretty good. Her appetite is great, even with the chemotherapy, and that helps us to be a good judge on her quality of life. Mia wants to know, what training do we do with her? So she is very shy, so most of the training is just getting her to trust us. But we do have a target for her, which is basically a ball on the end of the stick, and she has to come up to us and touch the stick or touch the ball on the end with her little nose, and she gets a click that means that she did a good job, and then she gets a piece of a treat, a piece of fruit. And then we can basically move that ball anywhere, and as long as she goes to it, that helps us to move her if we need her. At the moment, over to the left here, we actually have a crate set up. It's a big metal crate, so it's something really new for her because she's very not used to that, but we would like her to understand that the crate is a safe place, and if we ever, for whatever reason, would need to move her, that then she would go into it. So we're starting the process there of every morning. In order to come out of her inside space where she gets her dinner and sleeps, she has to come through the crate, and then we put a lot of her treats during the day in the crate as well. And eventually we're going to start using that target to start moving her through it, and hopefully get her to go in or through it on command. Will she have babies? That is also a good question, Sophia. Unfortunately not. Besides her cancer, which would maybe not be conducive to her bearing healthy offspring, she is also very, very old. The oldest peccaries in the zoo world at the moment are 21. They live to be about 9 in the wild. And Joni is 19, so she is very, very old, and I don't know if she would appreciate being got with child at the moment. So that back corner over there where she's walking through is actually her main wallow spot, and it's just because that's the natural low point of the exhibit, but that's also where the water tends to drain to. And don't worry, we do have drainage in this space so it doesn't flood, but that's usually where the water goes to get out. So that's usually the wettest part of the exhibit, so she'll dig out that space and wallow in that spot pretty frequently. Would she be friends with other species in the wild? That's interesting to say. Possibly. I don't know about friends, but they would definitely appreciate anything that gives an alarm call in the wild. They are very sensitive to noises. Joni is sensitive to noises in here, and they are equally as sensitive to noises in the wild. So anything that is alarming in the wild, they will also be alarmed and be on alert. So birds that are giving an alarm call, they will probably listen to them. Sophia wants to know when her birthday is. Her birthday is April 7th. It just passed a couple months ago when she turned 19. They do get to be about anywhere from 50 to 80 pounds. Joan is 73, which is a very healthy weight, and we keep an eye on that as well as her appetite to make sure that she continues to be happy and healthy while she is receiving the chemotherapy. Laura wants to know, does she like seeing the vets since she gets a lot of treatment? Well, I don't know that she's ever seen the vets, and the reason for that is that we only go in to treat her medically when she is unconscious, because she does not appreciate anybody coming into her space just because she is as shy and easily frightened as she is. So as you can see, she's very calm now, but once something comes into her space that she's not particularly appreciative of, then she will just go to the other end, and then it becomes a very stressful situation. So rather what we do is that we make her a little bit sleepy, and then while she's sleepy is when we will do any medical procedures that we need to do with her. So it keeps us safe, it keeps her calm, and then that way everyone comes out of it with a positive experience. All right, this is our last question. How many types of peccary are there? There are 3 species currently recognized. There is the collared peccary, which is the most numerous. They're the ones that you might find as far north as Arizona and New Mexico. They're the ones that are most usually referred to as a javelina. There's the white-lipped peccary, and then there's the Chacoan peccary, which is Joanie, and they are the largest species and also the most endangered. All right, thank you guys for hanging out with me and Joanie today. I hope you had a wonderful time, and I hope we'll get to see you guys soon. Have a good day.